So if you've been following the NWSS and COVID viral activity monitoring, you may have noticed that seemingly overnight the wastewater went from low to high in that third highest category there. And you might be thinking, why did this happen? Because these levels are virtually identical to what they were the prior week. Well, it's because of the relative rolling scale that they have. And as of July 1st, they take the next 6-month chunk of data. So prior to July 1st of 2024, they were taking this chunk of data right here and saying the 10% lowest data, or the 10% value of the summation of this chunk, is what quote-unquote low is. And then each one of these scale bars is a standard deviation away from that low. And as we can see, the summation of values are much higher in this chunk than the summation of values in this chunk over here, making that 10% value relatively higher than the 10% value in the most recent chunk of data where we got the shift of 6 months. So what happened July 1st? Well, instead of basing the data off of this 6-month chunk, it's now this 6-month chunk right here, which is why that data is now being reported as high, even though it was previously reported as low. And if you'll recall, right when this chart was introduced, I brought up this exact scenario as something that could happen, and we have now seen it actually happen. Because if we consider the data from an absolute sense, we have been at high COVID wastewater levels the whole time for our summer wave. It's just now being recognized as high by the CDC because of their weird relative reporting scale, which is a relative sense reporting scale because things like this can happen, as opposed to an absolute reporting scale where once you hit a certain level, you are at low levels or medium levels or high or very high levels, with this always being true no matter what. And I hope people can see now and recognize that this is a biased way of reporting the data on this relative sense scale.